What if everything that you've been taught about spiritual awakening is upside down? Today, we're going to shatter the illusion that the body is a prison of the soul and reveal a radical truth, that the body is the gateway to the divine. Now let's dive into the hidden teachings of Aleister Crowley and uncover the truth of non-duality in Thelema. Aleister Crowley did not only teach magic, he also taught mysticism. In brief, magic is getting into contact with spiritual entities higher than ourselves, and mysticism involves raising ourselves spiritually up to their level. Mysticism involves harnessing the energies of creation and manifestation to elevate one's consciousness to union with God or the Absolute. It involves shedding one's identification with the ego and coming to identify with the God or the star which lies concealed at the heart of one's existence. This is one way of understanding non-duality in Thelema. It involves transcending the limits of the ego and coming to find identification with a reality which is higher than ourselves. And this is a valid way of understanding Thelemic mysticism, although it has to be qualified. Not all versions of self-transcendence are Thelemic, but this is a version of mysticism that Crowley himself was fond of and also taught his students and wrote about. In this video, I'm going to approach Thelemic mysticism from a different perspective. And to do so, I'm going to avail myself at the outset of the story or the mythology of the soul's incarnation in Thelema. According to this story, the soul or the star is an adventuring god. Its adventures lead it into contact with a solar system and a planet where it finds a gestating fetus that it enters into. Crowley says that this happens at the quickening, which is between the 13th and the 16th weeks of pregnancy. When it does so, it loses its identity. Its divine self-knowledge is replaced by mortal ignorance. It no longer knows itself to be immortal. It is now subject to birth, aging, sickness, infirmity, and death. It loses the unlimited freedom it had. It is now subject to the conditions that the child is born into, the time and place it is born into, its historical circumstances, the wealth and the health of the nation it is born into, the ability of its parents to love the child and to caretake it. In short, all of the conditions that mark early human life. This incarnated solar god now faces a dilemma. It can remain subject to these conditions, or it can find a way out of its predicament. It can find a way back to its original state. It can find a way back to the light from whence it came. The story that I've just told you is a dualistic one. It's one in which spirit falls into and becomes ensnared or trapped in matter. The conditions of incarnation rob the god of all of its powers, and the only way it can reclaim those powers is by transcending or escaping those conditions. All of which raises a question. Why would a god choose to subject itself to such conditions? Did it happen by accident? If so, then we're not really talking about a god here, are we? Do gods also trip over their own shoelaces? Another possibility is that this god is doing this for some kind of higher purpose. It is trying to redeem matter by entering into it, or it is trying to perfect itself over a series of incarnations through suffering. But these are alternatives that Crowley explicitly rejects. There's another possibility, one which is absurd on the face of it, but which we have to at least entertain. Maybe we never fell into the darkness in the first place. Maybe instead of turning toward darkness, we turned toward the light. Maybe darkness is just what the light happens to look like. Maybe we never gave up our freedom. Maybe conditionality is just what freedom looks like to a god. Death may appear opposed to life, but perhaps, in fact, life and death are just two sides of the same coin. Now, this may sound like a bunch of mystical mumbo-jumbo, but it actually carries with it a very interesting and important implication. At the center of these dichotomies between light and darkness, freedom and bondage, immortality and time, we continually find the body. It was the star's interaction with the body that robbed it of its divine freedom, its divine light, and its immortality. It's the soul's union with matter, and specifically with the body, that we can make neither heads nor tails of in the dualistic account. But what if we're misunderstanding the body? What if instead of the soul floating around in the universe and entering into a body as something other than itself, what if the body is just how the soul looks to itself when it turns toward itself? In that case, a human life does not oppose or limit a god. A human life is how a god understands itself and its universe. That changes the meaning of spiritual awakening. Instead of spiritual awakening being about transcending this existence and floating up and beyond it and uniting with something other than ourselves, what's required is to turn deeper in ourselves, to descend deeper into the darkness of matter, the darkness of our bodies, the darkness of our psyches, and only there can we find the truth. Because of the danger involved in this, we have to do this in a way which is very mindful and self-disciplined. But when we accomplish this task, this inward journey of initiation, we do not find that darkness contains light. On the contrary, we find that the darkness itself is light. At that point, we see God all around us through the eyes of a God, through eyes, in fact, that are God, that are divine. From that perspective, death is not a price that we pay for this self-realization. Death is not a price at all. Death is as divine as life and everything else. When the body and the mind are brought into perfect balance, Ra-Hor Kawit, the divine light, appears in the center of the cross of elements. He doesn't descend into it from the outside, from somewhere else. He is revealed to have been there, present, latent within matter the entire time. Ra-Hor Kawit, of course, is a symbol of the holy guardian angel. In Liber 65, we read, "The mountain stirred not. Therefore went the prophet unto the mountain, and spake unto it. But the feet of the prophet were weary, and the mountain heard not his voice. But I have called unto thee, and I have journeyed unto thee, and it availed me not. I waited patiently, and thou wast with me from the beginning. This now I know, O my beloved, and we are stretched at our ease among the vines. But these thy prophets, they must cry aloud and scourge themselves. They must cross trackless wastes and unfathomed oceans. To await thee is the end, not the beginning." What do you think? Does this counterintuitive understanding of mysticism surprise you? Does it match your own spiritual experiences? Leave a comment down below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, there's a really good chance you will also enjoy another one of these videos that I've done, so go check it out. Until next time, love is the law, love under will.